Recovery doesn't happen in secret. And the big concept here, guys, is that addiction actually grows in isolation, though this thing that we deal with often pushes us into isolation. But recovery actually thrives in connection and community.
What's up, podcast land? Good to hear from you. Good to be here with you. Good to see you. I don't know. I'm just looking at a camera. Anyway, welcome back to the Recovered Dad podcast. We are your hosts, Yaden Smith here with my partner in recovery, Matthew Sinkovitz, coming at you with another week talking about recovery, fatherhood, leveling up at life, recovering from addiction, becoming a better man, all the things, talking about every dad's favorite topic, right? How to be a better father, how to recover from the grip of and become the man you really know that you can be. Become that man that you've always wanted to be.
Yep.
Matt, good to see you. Good to see you. I know we've had a couple weeks since we've been able to record an episode just because of scheduling.
Yeah, it has been. It has been. And it's good to be back. And it's good to be here with you today, Yaden. So thank you, brother.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And I know today you got, so listeners out there, if y'all haven't noticed, like Matt and I kind of bounce back and forth with topics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like with stories and insights. This week is Matthew Sinkovitz's turn.
Yes, sir.
I know you got something good for us this week. Matt, what is the conversation about today?
Yeah, man. Well, thanks very much, Jaden, and welcome, brothers, those that are tuned into today's conversation. You know, I gotta. It seems it's kind of like in this work, in this conversation, it's kind of like we're beating the same drum over and over again. You know, frankly, and this is a conversation today that is a prominent theme in the recovery conversation, and has been a prominent theme in my own personal recovery journey, and that is this topic that recovery doesn't happen in secret. Recovery doesn't happen in secret.
Yeah.
And the big concept here, guys, is that addiction actually grows in isolation, though this thing that we deal with often pushes us into isolation, right? But we actually grow. Recovery actually thrives in connection and community. That's what we're up to. That's what we're up to here as the Recovered Dad community, and that's what we're all up to, you know, in our own individual recovery journeys. And what I'd love to share with you, brothers, today is touch on some points around why secrecy is such a powerful obstacle in the recovery journey, why so many men do stay silent, what accountability and visibility actually looks like, and how to begin to break isolation, the trap of isolation in your own recovery journey.
You know, I'm glad we're talking about this on this episode, Matt, because I think about how when I first started learning about kind of the mechanics of addiction, and I'm not sure this is a hill I'll die on, right? But I'm pretty confident that this is how it works, that any addiction, really, that someone latches onto, it's a coping mechanism for life. Yeah. I know we talk about not having a problem, having a pain problem, and is the pill that men take to manage the pain. But there are all kind of coping mechanisms out there to manage pain. And thinking about the maladaptive coping mechanisms, the unhealthy coping mechanisms. And the list could be endless, right? There's smoking, alcohol, drugs, is on there, food, right? There's all sorts of coping mechanisms that men latch onto that are maladaptive. Even exercise can be a maladaptive coping mechanism, right? Something taken to an extreme. But I think is kind of unique in these maladaptive coping mechanisms because one, you have access to it 24/7 in your pocket with a smartphone. And two, it is kind of socially dangerous to talk about. You know, somebody who's smoking is like, man, you know I need to quit. And everybody's like, yeah, man, you need to quit. Those are going to kill you. Right. We're going to take a smoke break. Yeah, you know, like get to it, man. We'll catch you in 5 minutes. Like, there's no real social judgment with some maladies. Like, man, I have to hit the gym 3 hours a day or I go crazy. Some maladaptive coping mechanisms don't have that secrecy component
Right.
of feeling like you're being judged socially or
Right.
relationally. Is one of those where it's maladaptive and it is not socially acceptable as a coping mechanism.
Right.
You know, you kind of get looked at the fear. I know for me, for most of my, is like, people are going to look at me like I'm a monster, like I'm a deviant, like I'm a
Yep.
pervert, right? It's
Yep.
just like all this negative shame. So glad we're talking about this today, bro.
Yeah. Well, I
Rock
mean,
and roll.
thank you. And to that point, while there is this stigma attached,
That's the
it
word, stigma. Yeah.
on another level, it's kind of it even though it happens in the shadows of life, there is an element of it where it is socially acceptable. There's a lot of jokes, and it's
Yeah.
just kind of accepted that everybody does it, and
Yeah.
it's there is an element of it or an aspect of it that is common, and maybe it's not socially acceptable, but it's socially common.
Yes.
And it's the
Socially common, but nobody really talks about it.
right. It's the butt of a lot of jokes, that's for sure. You know.
Yeah.
So let's dig into this a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about the trap of secrecy. And what I found is that addiction tells us lies. It tells us, and we kind of touched on it already. Don't tell anyone that this is something you can handle on your own. It tells us that if people knew what was really going on in our lives, we'd be rejected.
Yeah.
And what this actually causes, it actually causes our addiction, if we're going to use that language, to multiply, to increase, to actually grow, to take a stronger foothold in the darkness. And our secrets, the things that we're keeping from others, actually become our self-imposed prisons, if you will. And what I see and what I found myself is that the longer we do hide, the harder it becomes to get honest and ask for help.
Yeah.
Right. I know for me, one of the traps in my recovery has been, I'm going to wait till, I make some progress on this and then I'll ask for help, or maybe then I'll confide in my community. Right. Right. But the reality is that you can't heal what you're unwilling to bring into the sunlight. Right. What you're willing to expose. So the question is that if secrecy is such a prison, why do so many men stay in that prison?
I think about how the secrecy being a prison, it's like the secrecy becomes part of what we have to cope with. And it
Absolutely.
compounds the pain. It's like, oh, now I know one of the biggest things that I've noticed in my recovery journey is that little voice in the back of my head that would just blast at volume cranked to 11 every time my wife would get upset or start to get quiet or having a hard conversation with a friend, someone. I would always think, like, did I cover my tracks?
Right.
Did I leave something open? Did I just get found out? Is this the conversation that is going to blow up and melt down my entire life? It's like I felt like my life was built on this house of cards, and was also a coping mechanism of living like that, right? Like was the coping mechanism for
Yep.
keeping it as a secret.
Absolutely. And so to your point, Yaden, why do men stay silent?
Yeah.
Right. It's exactly what Yaden just is speaking to here. It's fear of judgment. It's fear of retribution. It's fear of consequence. It's fear of disappointing those in our lives. It's a big one. Fear of losing relationships. How many of you guys can relate to that one? Right. It's an element of pride. It's the story that, hey, I should be able to beat this on my own.
Yep.
We end up shooting all over ourselves, and it's the belief that asking for help means failure to a degree.
You're weak.
Right.
You're weak. No man wants to feel like they're less than, feel incompetent or inadequate or weak.
Absolutely. So every one of these beliefs, guys, are beliefs that actually keep us isolated, right, and keep us stuck. And that's exactly where this coping mechanism, this addiction thrives.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. 100%, man.
100%. the truth of it, the reality of it, and again, I touched on this already. I talked about this concept of bringing that which is in the darkness into the light, because the sunlight is the greatest disinfectant. Is that recovery requires visibility,
Hmm.
right? Another way we talk about visibility is accountability, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times accountability can be something that maybe we reject in our lives. But I think the healthy perspective in our recovery journey is recognizing that accountability isn't uh, isn't punishment, but it's actually an integral part of what a healthy recovery framework looks like. Accountability brings visibility, right? It means that someone in our lives actually know the truth about what's going on for us.
Hmm.
It puts people in our lives that help maybe challenge our stinking thinking and asks us hard questions, right? And accountability also kind of serves as a tool to help remind us who we're becoming, those healthy accountability relationships.
I'm thinking about how what you're talking about right now, and I'm gonna do a quick search while you're talking because there's a study that I've referenced before, and I've seen reference. It's the study that talks about what is your percentage, what's your percentage of success in goal setting,
Yep.
and it goes through all these different levels of setting goals. And if all you do is have a goal internally and don't tell anyone, your odds are not that great.
Yep.
I'm gonna see if I
Yeah.
can latch. I'm gonna see if I can find it real fast.
Yep. That sounds great. So what a lot of men lack in the recovery journey, and I would say in their lives, are honest, like real friendships, right? A lot of men have acquaintances, right? I mean, we've got friends, through church or work or maybe in our community. But how many men in your life would you consider actually a brother, a man that you can bring anything to, right?
Yeah.
Every man needs a few people in their lives that know the real story about who we are and what our challenges, what our struggles are. And what I've found and what we continue to see in our community is that the healing that we're so desperately wanting and needing and desirous of actually happens through honesty and through honest conversations, right? So sometimes just, acquaintances, surface level friendships aren't enough. We need deep relationships and true accountability and true visibility in our lives.
Okay. I think I found it. Is what you're talking about. I think about how scary it is to talk about as a dad, as a man, and yet kind of you alluded to it earlier, where it's kind of like we joke about it. We know everybody does it. It's everywhere, and yet it's really difficult to have an honest conversation about what part it plays in your life as a dad, as a man. It is but someone has to go first in the conversation. Someone has to go first in the conversation, and that's one of the things I love about the Liberation Boot Camp, about the Noble Council, where since we are talking about faith as our primary focus
Yeah.
for growth
Yep.
and becoming a better husband, becoming a better father, becoming a better man, it really takes the shame away in those conversations.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So while you're continuing to look that
Yeah.
up, I'm gonna dig into a little bit. Like, what does it
Keep
look like?
rolling, bro. Keep rolling.
What does it look like to actually build a healthy, sustainable support system? And it can come through your community relationships, as we spoke to here, right? But a lot of times where we can begin getting accountability or support or begin having these conversations in rooms that feel a little bit more objective might be through a therapist, right? Through a coaching community like we've got here inside the Recover Dad community, recovery groups, maybe 12-step communities. Maybe there's a spiritual mentor in your life, a pastor, right? Someone that you can be honest with, right? Because remember, guys, recovery does not happen in secrecy, right? So where can we begin to source these relationships? Well, there's professional support, which I went through there, and then there's your maybe it's your greater, it's your larger community. But the important thing to remember is that recovery is not a solo journey. We become like the people around us. The isolation actually fuels the addiction. Community fuels transformation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what I think it's important to remember is that there's an appropriate level of vulnerability and visibility that we get to adopt in this work. You don't need to tell everyone, but you do need to tell someone. And it should start with the relationship in your life where you feel trust. Now maybe you're always gonna feel as though you're leaning in a little bit as it comes to trust. But this vulnerability really requires both courage and discernment, I would say, as you determine who are those support relationships that you can actually trust in your life.
Yeah, having those trusted, and I'm not successful in finding
Okay.
the I'm finding not successful in finding the study, and I don't want to just have blank space while we're recording live.
Yeah.
But having a community, it's not only with recovery. And dads out there, if you listen to this, I know this lands. I know this resonates with you. Think about the times in your life where you really have set a goal that felt a little bit out of reach.
Yep.
And what did it take for you to actually get there? I think to myself, outside of my recovery from journey, it was, almost 10 years ago where I was not in a good place. One, I was still addicted. I was still in the grip of, but more than that, I just wasn't doing good. Just stressed out, frustrated, tired. And this local group started in my area called F3, fitness, faith, and I can't even remember what the three F's are now.
Probably finances or something, right?
No, it wasn't finances.
Fun,
Fitness, something, and faith. Fitness, fellowship, and faith. I think
Okay.
it was something like that. And it's basically a group of guys getting up at the ass crack of dawn to do boot camp style workouts. And I started going. And my motivation to go was like, I wasn't trying to lose weight, wasn't trying to get healthy, but I knew that exercise was going to give me positive endorphins. It was going to give me like the feel good hormones that I just didn't have. And I found by going, because I've done gyms in the past, but going by myself is like, that ain't fun. I'm just by myself. Like, I don't know what to do. Showing up a couple times a week with a group of men that I was able to build relationships with who noticed if I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Who would check us like, hey man, are you coming on Thursday? Like, we want you to be there. Being in a community like that made it sustainable as
Yep.
part of my life. And that launched my trajectory into weightlifting, running, marathons, iron. Like my fitness where I am today, I trace back to that community of men that helped me get started.
Absolutely. So that's the challenge that I'd love to offer you today, men. Like, who are those relationships in your life? Who are the relationships in your life where you can start to get supported, where you can start to get real? To Yaden's example, maybe you can just get into a community where you can start to level up and get around other men who are maybe on the growth path like you want to be. Who knows the real you, or who would you like to reveal more of the real you to? Right? Who could you trust with one honest conversation? Right? What's one thing you've been carrying alone that needs to be spoken to? Right? I want to encourage men to reach out to one trusted person this week. Maybe it's a friend, right? Maybe it is a pastor. Maybe it's a priest. Maybe there's a community that's on your radar. Maybe it's a 12-step community. Maybe it's reaching out to us here inside the Recovered Dad community, right? And I want to encourage you to tell the truth about one area of your recovery journey that you've been hiding, right? Take one step out of isolation and into connection. Because as we've discussed here today, guys, recovery isn't about becoming perfect.
No.
It's about becoming known. It's about becoming visible, right? Remembering that addiction survives in secrecy, right? But the healing that we're looking for actually happens in the light, guys. Okay.
Yeah.
Remember, the opposite of addiction isn't sobriety, it's genuine connection.
Genuine connection. And men, if you're out there listening, you know, and you're thinking, I don't have any of that. Like, well, we want to offer an invitation to check out a 7-day reboot challenge that we
Yep.
have.
Yep.
We have it. We have them periodically. It's 7 days. That's
Uh-huh.
it. Building some of these skills that we're talking about, learning how to reach for a different pain pill
Yep.
instead of the pain pill of learning how to cope with life, manage your emotions, navigate all the pain and the chaos without having to reach for.
Yep.
It's a 7-day community. We have skills, we have lessons. You build community that we're talking about right here. You can bring it to the light and
Yep.
start this journey of recovery. Get it kickstarted or continue on. Shoot us a message on the Facebook, on the Instagram. Check out our website, therecovereddad.com.
Yep.
We'd love to
Thank you.
have you join us in the 7-day reboot challenge.
recovereddad.com/reboot, I think, should get you to all the
There
details.
you go.
Yep.
That'll get you all the details.
That's it.
In the meantime, brothers out there, keep doing the work, keep growing. If you fall down 1,000 times, get up 1,001 times.
That's it. That's it. Thank
Peace.
you, men. Thank you again, Yaden.
Power.
Peace. Power. Boom.
Noble men.
Thanks, guys.